Okay, this is now tarot lesson number 2, and I'd like to make one point here. I think if you start with if you turn a card like this one, Seven of Swords, I'll come back to that. And if you start with a meaning, in this case, the idea that somebody is making off with something that doesn't belong to them. If you start with a meaning, it's as if you are going into a room, locking the door and closing the curtains. Because if you start with a meaning, somebody's meaning or your own meaning, it's limited or it's finite. And it's hard to let anything else into the room, and it's hard to see out. So I looked up the Seven of Swords on the internet and you get the idea that somebody's making off with something that doesn't belong to them, which is fair enough, and maybe that's true, and that's going to be the answer that you give. I once watched a video about Barcelona and the subway system, and how there are organized crimes or organized gangs of pickpockets in Barcelona. So somebody says, I'm going to Barcelona, what's the trip going to be like? And you get this card, watch yourself on the subway. Okay, so that idea of somebody stealing or making off makes sense for that question at that time. However, if the question is, am I going to get the promotion? And this card comes up and it's upright. What are you going to say? Are you going to say, yeah, because the card is upright, it means yes, generally. So if you get, or yes, you'll get it, but you're going to feel as if you stole it? Or you're going to feel as if you stole it from somebody else? Or does it mean that somebody's going to steal the job from you? And if you feel you're stealing the job, are you going to feel guilty and not be able to handle the job? Well, maybe, who knows? Or if somebody wants to know, am I going to meet somebody and have a good relationship? And we get the Seven of Swords. Yes, but they're going to steal from you. Are they going to steal your money? Are they going to steal your property? Are they going to steal your heart? Maybe there's theft involved in some way, but I don't know. I mean, if you start with a meaning, it's awkward, I think. However, if we look at the picture and talk about what's going on here, we've got 2 swords and 5 swords. So we have to wonder, were all 7 swords upright and stuck in the ground? Because those 2 swords look solid and stable and firm and reliable in some way, and ready for action, because it's a sword. You can pick it up and start using it. So there is good in the picture, but the person, for whatever reason, is walking away with 5 swords held in an awkward kind of a way. So if we think about the ideas that we get from this particular card, we've got some stability, but some, what do we say, rushing. The person seems to be going off quickly and looking behind. So we've got partly stability, but also partly or mainly instability. So I'll try to remember that, because I want to say as well, I was, if you remember school days and you would do algebra or you would do physics or chemistry, they would give you a question or a problem and you had to get the right answer. So we're sort of trained to look at anything and force to, or have to come up with the right answer at the moment, or having done a little bit of calculation. Whereas I think the tarot is not like, or life is not like a mathematics exam where you're given a problem or given a situation and you've got to solve it. You've got to come up with the right answer. And so I think what you do when you're learning the tarot is you look at a card like this, the Seven of Swords, and you write some stability and some rushing or escaping maybe, or something like that. This is stable and solid and firm. This isn't. So you've got two kinds of things going on. And I think what you do is you write it down. You write down on your notebook, with the Seven of Swords, we've got some stability, some instability. And then you think, what does that mean? And maybe you can't think of anything, and that's fine, because it's not an algebra exam. So you write down stability and instability, and you look at it tomorrow, and you think, do I have any idea what more to say, or what next, or what then? And if you do, you write it down. If you don't, then you leave it and go back to it the following day or whenever. Because I think what's important is you look at the picture and you ask yourself questions. What's going on here? What might it mean? So to go back to the question about, will I get the promotion? We've got, the card is upright, so yes, you're going to get the promotion. But maybe these two swords represent what you expect the job is going to be about, but there's going to be all sorts of other aspects to the job that you're going to have to do. So they hire you, let's say, in an accounting department, they hire you to do spreadsheets, but you end up having to write Excel dashboards and pivot tables and do all sorts of advanced Excel work that you don't know or that you're not familiar with. So the job looks good because of the two here, but there's going to be extra responsibilities. So think carefully about, or else if you're having the interview, make sure that you know what's required about the job or what's expected of you in the job. So rather than look at this and think, okay, somebody's stealing something, maybe in a sense the company is stealing your ability, right? Because they're expecting you. They know that they want you to do extra work, but they're not telling you. But I think you get that idea from understanding the 2 and the 5 and the difference between them. Or if you want to know, am I going to meet somebody? Yes, you will. And it'll be pretty good. There will be strong points in the other person's personality or character, and there's a match between you. But watch out for things that aren't quite right, because there are going to be more things that aren't quite right than things that are really good. And so you need to think about, is it worth it to me to get involved with this person where I've got a certain amount that's good and enjoyable and a certain amount of connection, but there are all these other habits. I mean, it can be silly things like the person eats and then leaves their dirty plate on the table and never takes it to the sink, or they never vacuum, or they never clean up after themselves. It can be something simple like that. But, and you know what it's like when you fall in love with somebody, you're just in love and anything goes. But when you settle down with somebody, then the little things that you were able to ignore in the past, suddenly they're not so ignorable anymore. And maybe that's the kind of idea that you get from this 7 of Swords that you pass on to the questioner. So they're more informed. Because you have to think about, you don't have to do anything, but if you think about, why do people want to consult the tarot anyway? And it's basically, I think, because there's something they're not sure about and they want extra input, or they want a different point of view, or they want to they want insight that they wouldn't normally get. And so if you can look at what's going on in the card and talk about it, you're going to give them ideas that they can then make sense of in their own time when they finish the reading. And then the second point I want to make is, I'd like to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's the sponsor. The sponsor is life itself. So we're all different, and we're living in different countries, and we have different experiences and different everything, but we have one thing in common: we're all in life. And what are we going to do about it? So I'm going to suggest that you think about, okay, you try this with different words. There's life, L-I-F-E. Life contains the word if, I-F, if you can. So life is not certain. It's not always certain, because if something happens, something else is going to happen. Or if you don't do this, then you're going to pay the price. Or if you don't do this, then things are going to fall apart. Or if you do this, then you've got a better chance of things working out. So think about if as an idea to do with life, and understand that when you say when we're in life, then we're dealing with a certain amount of uncertainty, because if is contained in the word life. Two other words, L-I-E, right, is contained in the word life. So is life a lie? Or is one of the challenges of life that it's up to us to figure out the difference between the truth and a lie? What's right and what's not right? Or what's truthful and honest, and what is pretense or trying to con people or trying to manipulate them to do something they don't want to do, or they don't realize that they're doing. So life also contains the word lie. And maybe we need to develop skill at distinguishing between truth and lies. And the last word I'd like to look at is F-I-L-E, file. You know, you get a filing system, you organize stuff and you categorize it and you put it in the right spot, and you know where to find it if you ever need it again. So maybe life is about filing and developing a filing system within our own mind or within our own life, so that we look at what happens to us, and instead of thinking this is good or this is bad, maybe we think about, okay, that's the experience. Where am I going to put it? What am I going to do with it? Am I going to file it under forget about it? Or am I going to file it under I have to deal with this and figure out what's going on? Or are we going to file it under I'll deal with it later? So if you think about categories of your life and how many categories you've got, and what different experiences and feelings and moods fit into different categories. Okay, that's the end of lesson 2. What do you think? I'll see. Ideally, today's Friday, and I'm thinking I'll put lesson 3 on YouTube on Monday. So I will look forward to seeing you then. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.